Are we live? It looks like we should be live. All right, welcome to Gamcast for Wednesday, April the 9th. Stock market up big today as Trump paused the tariffs on everyone except China. So anyway, folks, we are here tonight to talk about the Supreme Court's recent decision, which was pretty straightforward for those of you that are trained in the laws as I am. So I'm going to walk you through it. Here's our friend Jonathan Turley. I got his up because his article provides a pretty good look at the Supreme Court's opinion. So we heard, as everyone knows, Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act. It is an old 1798 statute that permits the president the power to kick out people who are here in time of war. Obviously, there will be no judicial review of that, because otherwise you'd have the British storming the beach and you'd have them running to courts going, hey, you can't do this to me. And you'd have a judge out there making decisions. It's just absurdity upon absurdity upon absurdity. But this case is nothing but absurdity upon absurdity of absurdity. And the Supreme Court didn't do much to basically beat that back, but they did do a little. So it was a 5-4 decision. Amy Coney Barrett, not surprisingly, sided with the fascists, and at least not all the opinion, but she sided with enough of it, and said that she would have let these thugs challenge Trump's resolution of the Alien Enemies Act, which is just crazy. Anyway, folks, so the basically what the Supreme Court decided, and what is the majority law, it should be 6-3, should be 9-0, really, was that under the Alien Enemies Act there is no judicial review. However, you always, and I've tweeted about this is not complicated, if you come here and you are illegal, you have zero rights. If you come here on a visa, you came to the border and you gave your passport, like I was just in Chile last month, or this part of this month, I was there legally. I have some rights because I'm there legally. If I came in illegally, I have zero rights. They can pick me up, they can throw me on the other side of the border for all the, we care. Now, behind that, you have to understand in the United States or in Western governments, not Chile, forget about Chile, but think about France, think about England, think about the United States. You always have habeas relief. And that's what this court case came down to. The court goes, of course, no, you do not have the right to challenge as a person who's illegally, you're a freaking gang member. No, you don't have constitutional rights. You don't have the right to challenge the statute. Certainly, I'm going to get to in a few minutes or a few seconds, as a class action. I'm going to get to that, how absurd this case was. But setting that all aside, they said, no, you can't. You do, of course, obviously have habeas rights, which is basically notice and an opportunity to be heard or challenge your removal. Now, I'm going to get to that. That ain't much, folks, but you always have that. Again, you don't have constitutional rights, but you always have habeas relief. Let's skip to that and I'll come back and talk about the fascists. As here it is right here from the Cornell Law School, which is a pretty good place to go. But anyway, a writ of habeas corpus is a term. It's I think it means that you have the body or bring the body in Latin, is used to bring a prisoner or other detainee before the court to determine if the person's imprisonment is detention or is lawful. It's a last gasp, but you always have it under Western law. Always. And that's what they basically said. Sure, they get an opportunity to be heard and they get notice. They get habeas relief. And guess what? Habeas is, as we alluded to, that bring the body or you have the body, it's where it's located. These people were located in Tejas. How do you get from Tejas to D.C.? And the court said, nope, Boasberg, you have no jurisdiction. And Boasberg should have told that the second they got into his court. In addition to the fact he cannot look at the Alien Enemies Act, which is an absurdity. They don't have jurisdiction because they're in Tejas, okay, not in D.C. Anyway, folks, I want to skip to the dissents. Okay, so here's Sotomayor, the wise Latina, who's like the last thing she is wise. But anyway, the government's, here's what she says in the last paragraph of her dissenting opinion. The government's conduct in this litigation poses an extraordinary threat to the rule of law. That a majority of this court now rewards the government for its behavior with discretionary equitable relief is indefensible. What's indefensible, okay, and what's not the rule of law is for a judge in D.C. to basically go into the Alien Enemies Act and say, oh, I absolutely have the right obligation to not only second guess the president, but order the president to bring people back and not send them out, etc. That's complete nonsense, and everyone knows it. Number two, this judge was issuing temporary restraining orders. If you read the majority's opinion, which I have, it starts out going, they claim these are temporary restraining orders, temporary injunctions. Well, they're not appealable, folks. But finally, the court is going, hey, look, You've kept this thing out there long enough. It ain't temporary. It's permanent, and it's appealable. Oh, but Sotomayor, she don't got no problem with that. She got no problem with this guy declaring a class action. She got no problem with the fact that he was on vacation when this case came in, and magically it went to him when it should have gone to the docket judge who's there for emergency cases. This whole case stinks. But Sotomayor doesn't care. She's a fascist. Anything she can do. Justice Jackson, who is quickly becoming the biggest moron on the court and willing to prove it with her mouth. This is her. She also wrote a separate dissent. At least when the court went off base in the past, it left a record so posterity could see how it went wrong. Basically, what she's mad about is this is all being done on the shadow docket, which means it's basically you apply to the court to try to get injunctive relief or get injunctive relief denied. And what she's complaining about here is when you do that, you don't get full briefings. You don't have a brief filed by one side, then a response by the other side, and a reply by the other side, an oral argument, and all the like. Now, listen, more sympathetic I could not be. She's got a point there. The problem, again, Trump didn't do it, right? Boasberg did it. And all these idiot people who are bringing these lawsuits that should be laughed out of court and they should be sanctioned, they're the ones that did it. And how do I know? Well, here's the tell. Here's Justice Jackson. Who does she cite for the fact that she's comparing about what we're doing now as in the past? Korematsu. That's when we rounded up Japanese citizens and put them in camps. Now, it's despicable. It never should have happened. But you're telling me rounding up these gang members who are not only gang members and illegals, but they're here illegally, rounding up criminals, okay, and sending them back to their home country somehow, comparable to Korematsu? It's just absurdity, folks. Anyway, sorry I've been gone for a while. I'll be doing these videos more regularly now that I'm back in the country. And so if you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you do, you'll see me on the next one.